A few months ago, I visited an old friend, Helen. She's 84, lives alone, and doesn't have much by way of material things. No fancy car, no latest gadgets, no packed calendar. But what struck me most was this. She was genuinely happy. Her eyes lit up when she talked about her morning walks. She laughed easily, even when sharing memories of the hard times. And she said something I'll never forget. "I'm more content now than I ever was in my 40s or 50s. At first, it didn't make sense. Isn't aging supposed to bring more pain, more loss, more sadness? But then I looked into it, and what I found shocked me. Science agrees with Helen. According to multiple long-term studies, happiness actually tends to increase as we age, peaking well into our 60s, 70s, and even 80s. Not despite aging, but often because of it. It turns out that growing older brings unexpected emotional benefits, more gratitude, less stress, greater emotional control, and a stronger sense of what really matters. So if you've ever feared that your best days are behind you, this video is for you. Today we're breaking down what science says about the link between aging and happiness, and why the later chapters of your life might just be the most joyful yet. Stick around until the end, because the last insight is something almost no one talks about, but it could completely change the way you view aging. Now let's dive into the first reason why happiness often grows with age, and why it's probably already happening to you, even if you haven't noticed it yet. 1. We let go of what doesn't matter anymore. When I was in my 40s, I worried about everything. How people saw me, whether I was successful enough, if my clothes were right, my job title impressive, my house spotless when guests dropped by. It was like I was carrying this invisible weight, expectations from the world and pressure I put on myself. But something changed as the years passed. I didn't wake up one morning feeling free. It was slow, almost unnoticeable at first, but little by little, I stopped caring so much about the things that once consumed me, and I started feeling lighter. I spoke with Eleanor, a 75-year-old widow I met at a local community center. She smiled and said, "In my younger years, I was always chasing approval. Now, I just want peace. I say what I mean, wear what I love, and surround myself with people who feel good to be around." There's something powerful about getting older. It gives you permission to let go. You realize most of the things that once felt urgent weren't. You stop chasing perfection. You stop apologizing for your boundaries, and you start making choices based on how they make you feel, not how they make you look. Science backs this up too. Studies show that as we age, we become less concerned with material things and social comparison, and more focused on emotional well-being and personal growth. It's not that we stop caring, it's that we learn what's really worth caring about. I remember cleaning out a closet a few years ago and holding on to a pair of shoes I hadn't worn in a decade. They were expensive, beautiful, and painful. I smiled, took a breath, and gave them away. Because that's what aging gives you. Clarity about what adds to your life and what quietly takes from it. And once you let go of what doesn't matter, you make space for what truly does, which leads us to the next gift aging offers: emotional wisdom. Let's talk about how growing older actually makes you better at handling life's toughest moments. 2. Emotional wisdom deepens with time. When I was younger, my emotions used to run the show. One rude comment could ruin my day. An unexpected bill, full-blown panic, a disagreement with someone I loved. I'd stew in silence for days. But with age, something shifted. Not overnight, but gradually. Now, I don't react the same way I used to. I breathe, I think, I let it pass. And that's not weakness, that's wisdom, emotional wisdom. I spoke to Raymond, a retired teacher in his early 80s. He said something I'll never forget. "I've lived long enough to know which storms are worth standing in, and which ones are just passing clouds." As we get older, our brains become better at emotional regulation. That means we recover from stress faster, we take things less personally, and we respond with more empathy and patience. Science calls this the positivity effect, a shift where older adults focus more on meaningful, uplifting experiences and less on drama or negativity. It's not that life gets easier, it's that we get better at navigating it. I remember when my younger self would obsess over the what ifs. What if they don't like me? What if I fail? Now, I've lived through enough to know that most of those fears never come true. And even when things go wrong, I survive. I adapt. I grow. That kind of peace can't be bought. It comes only with time, with experience, and with a few hard-earned lessons along the way. So when someone says they wouldn't want to grow old, I think, you have no idea what you're missing. Because emotional wisdom doesn't just make you calmer, it makes you happier. You don't get pulled into every argument. You don't chase every opinion. You just live quietly, fully, and with more grace than you ever thought possible. And when you pair that wisdom with the right people by your side, something even more beautiful happens. Let's talk next about how aging helps you choose and cherish the relationships that truly matter. 3, we value relationships more and choose them wisely. There was a time in my life when my calendar was packed. Dinners, work parties, social events. I knew dozens of people by name, kept up appearances, laughed at the right jokes. But if I'm honest, most of those connections were surface level. We talked, but we didn't connect. And somewhere deep down, I felt alone in a room full of people. Now in my 60s and beyond, things look very different. I don't need a crowd. I need connection. I had lunch last week with my friend Marlene. She's 78. She leaned in and said, "At this age, I no longer have the energy to maintain relationships that drain me. I keep the ones that make me feel seen, safe, and understood." And science backs that up. As we age, we naturally begin to narrow our social circles, focusing more on relationships that are emotionally meaningful, and letting go of those that feel performative or exhausting. It's called socio-emotional selectivity, and it's one of the reasons older adults report higher satisfaction in their friendships, even if they have fewer of them. I've seen it in my own life. The people I talk to now are the ones who truly know me, the ones I can sit in silence with and still feel connected. We laugh about old times, support each other in tough ones, and don't waste energy on pretending. Because aging teaches you something that youth rarely does. Time is precious, energy is limited, and the people you spend both on matter. You stop chasing everyone's approval. You stop feeling guilty for stepping back. And you start making space for the friendships that actually fill you up. And when you do, you feel lighter, more grounded, and ironically, less alone than ever. But there's something else that sneaks in during this stage of life. A quiet shift that changes how we see the world and how we feel in it. Let's talk about the unexpected power of gratitude and why it becomes second nature as we age. 4, gratitude becomes a daily habit, not a rare emotion. When I was younger, I used to chase the next big thing, the promotion, the perfect house, the next vacation, and every time I got what I wanted, felt good for a moment. But then the goalpost moved. There was always something more to strive for. But aging slows things down. And in that stillness, something beautiful begins to grow. Gratitude. Not the kind you post on holidays, not the "I should be grateful" kind. I mean the quiet, consistent kind. The kind that meets you in the morning when you open your eyes and say, "I get another day." My neighbor Tom, who's 83, told me, "Every time I put my feet on the ground, I thank them for holding me up." And I get that now, because at this stage, gratitude isn't about the big things. It's about the little ones you used to overlook. A warm cup of coffee, the sound of birds outside your window, a phone call from someone who remembers you. Science shows that older adults report higher levels of daily gratitude than younger people. And it's no coincidence. We've seen enough life to understand that nothing is guaranteed. We've lived through loss, disappointment, and unexpected turns. And somehow that makes what remains feel even more precious. I find myself saying thank you more often now. Not out loud, not always to someone, but inwardly, to life, to time, to the small joys I once rushed past. Gratitude becomes a rhythm, a lens you see life through, not just a feeling you visit when things go well. And the best part? That sense of thankfulness brings real happiness, both emotionally and physically. Studies link daily gratitude to lower stress, better sleep, and improved heart health. It's not magic, it's perspective. And perspective is something only time can teach. But as gratitude grows, so does another powerful realization, that the race for success fades and something far more meaningful takes its place. Let's talk next about the final shift that makes aging so unexpectedly fulfilling. The turn from achievement to purpose. 5. A shift from achievement to meaning. In my 30s and 40s, I lived by the checklist. Get the promotion, buy the house, hit the savings goal. Always climbing, always proving, always asking, what's next? And for a while it worked. There was pride in progress. But underneath it all, there was a quiet question I didn't want to face. What happens when the climbing stops? That question caught up with me in my early 60s. I was retired. The titles were gone. The emails stopped. And for a moment I felt lost, because I didn't know who I was without all the doing. That's when something unexpected began to grow. Not ambition, but meaning. I started mentoring a few young people in my neighborhood. Not for money, not for recognition, just because it mattered. I started writing letters to my grandchildren, telling them things I wished I'd known when I was their age. I spent more time in nature, more time listening than talking, and one day I realized, this is enough. Not flashy, not award-worthy, but full. I spoke with June, a 79-year-old former executive. She said, I used to think success meant being busy and important. Now I know success is living in a way that feels honest to who I really am. This shift is one of aging's greatest gifts. We stop measuring our worth by what we produce and start finding it in connection, contribution, and contentment. And the science, it supports this shift. Studies show that older adults who engage in purposeful activities, volunteering, mentoring, caregiving, report higher life satisfaction, lower rates of depression, and longer lifespans. Meaning doesn't come from being impressive. It comes from being present. And once you feel that shift, from chasing achievement to embracing purpose, happiness doesn't feel like a goal anymore. It feels like a companion. Now that we've explored these 5 powerful truths about aging and happiness, let's bring it all together, because you might just be entering the most meaningful chapter of your life. Final thoughts. Happiness doesn't fade with age, it deepens. If you've ever feared that growing older meant growing lonelier, more fragile, or less fulfilled, I hope this changed your mind, because the truth is, aging doesn't take happiness away, it refines it. It strips away the noise, the pressure, the distractions, and reveals what really matters. You begin to let go of what doesn't serve you, feel more in control of your emotions, and surround yourself only with people who genuinely add to your life. You stop chasing what's flashy and start finding joy in what's quiet but meaningful. And somewhere in the middle of slower mornings, deeper conversations, and simpler pleasures, you realize something powerful. You're not losing yourself as you age. You're finally coming home to who you truly are. Happiness after 60 isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's a warm cup of tea in the morning. It's a walk without pain. It's knowing your time is your own and using it in ways that feel right to your soul. So I want to ask you, which of these 5 truths about aging and happiness resonated with you the most? Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts or stories. And if this video reminded you that life doesn't end after 60, it actually begins in a new, beautiful way, please give it a like, subscribe for more videos like this, and share it with someone who needs a gentle reminder that there's still so much joy ahead. Thank you for being here. And remember, your best days aren't behind you. They're just different now, quieter, deeper, and maybe even more meaningful than ever.